Unfortunately, we can now add January 6th, 2021, to that very short list of dates in American history that will live forever in infamy.
A deadly day at the nation's capital as a pro-Trump mob takes over the building. They were trying to stop the process to formally certify the president-elect.
Today was a dark day in the history of the United States Capitol.
This is appalling. This is un-American. This should never happen in our nation.
This morning, we're looking ahead following a dark day for our democracy. All right, breaking news overnight. Congress has finalized President-elect Biden's Electoral College victory, closing the book on the 2020 presidential election. Live look at the Capitol. Here's ABC's Faith Abubey live. Faith?
Good morning. D.C. is calmer right now, but many are waking up horrified by what happened within the last 24 hours and are wondering what's next.
Overnight, a joint session of Congress ratifying the Electoral College votes in the presidential election. The move certifying President-elect Joe Biden's decisive win as he prepares to take office in less than 2 weeks.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be the president and the vice president.
And it comes after a tumultuous day at the U.S. Capitol. A symbol of U.S. democracy attacked by violent pro-Trump mobs and left in disarray. The image is hard to watch. Demonstrators scaling walls, breaking through security barriers, smashing windows, and storming restricted areas of the U.S. Capitol, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office. The Trump supporters forcing lawmakers to take cover in fear of their lives. Pictures show armed Capitol Police outnumbered, guns drawn and barricading doors as the chaos unfolded. D.C. police telling ABC News 1 woman and 2 men suffered medical emergencies and later died. Another woman shot and killed during a standoff inside the Capitol. The chaos forcing lawmakers to break from what should have been a quiet day, ratifying the Electoral College votes in the presidential election. Instead, as the joint session of Congress convened, President Trump urging his supporters during a rally to head to the Capitol.
You'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong.
As the supporters breached the building, multiple sources tell ABC News Trump rejected calls to bring in the National Guard, only signing off after White House officials intervened for the sake of the country. 3 people inside the White House resigning over the violent display. And now some talk, according to ABC News sources, among cabinet members to remove Trump himself from office. Lawmakers from both sides of the political aisle, shaken but undeterred, returning to the chamber overnight to finish their work.
And soon after Congress certified the results, President Trump released a statement saying he wasn't happy with the outcome, but there will be a smooth transition of power on January 20th. In Washington, Faith Abubey, ABC News.
Faith, thank you. And that said, the president has been locked out of Twitter, so his social media director tweeted that statement for him. And after the chaos yesterday, many lawmakers in Congress, including some in California, now want the president removed from office. ABC 10's Kevin John is live outside our state capitol. Kevin, some local lawmakers are calling on the vice president to do what?
Well, Walt, those local lawmakers are calling on Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment, which would remove President Trump from office. Many fed up with the president's actions over the last 24 hours. Now, many Congress members have sounded the alarm on President Trump's actions yesterday. Representative Ami Bera stated, quote, "I want to know why the D.C. National Guard wasn't mobilized." He went on to say that D.C. Mayor Bowser had requested it yesterday or earlier this week. Also, local Congressman Josh Harder voices his frustration on the events that transpired at the U.S. Capitol.
There should be some real questions about how we got to a situation where a small number of violent protesters were able to take over the U.S. Capitol. That should never be allowed to happen. And the fact that it did is deeply unacceptable. And we need to figure out how we can make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Now, Sacramento's Doris Matsui also weighing in on what happened, saying in part, this was a coordinated attempt to overthrow our democratic process with violence. Make no mistake, these rioters viewed the president's repeated claims of fraud as a mandate to act. She also stated that she's calling on the vice president to invoke the 25th Amendment. Now, coming up later in the show, you'll hear from the co-founder of the Lincoln Project and what they're asking the House to do and act quickly on, Walt.
All right, Kevin John with the very latest from the state capitol. Kevin, thank you. So that sets up our question of the day. What should happen to the president after the riots at the nation's capital? Removal from office, face criminal charges, nothing, or something else? Vote on our app or at abc10.com/vote. That conversation is going on our ABC 10 Facebook page. Now, Washington, D.C. wasn't the only place that did see protests yesterday. Demonstrators popped up across the country as Congress went over the results of the Electoral College. Look at the scenes in New York, Michigan, Texas, and Sacramento. ABC 10's Giacomo Luca follows what protesters had to say and how police worked to keep people safe.
Stop the steal! This is ridiculous! America needs to wake up! We're being taken over by communists! Communists!
Hundreds of supporters rallying behind President Trump, baselessly claiming that Mr. Trump won his re-election bid. He did not. The group at times clashing with others, including supporters of President-elect Biden.
And I'm just here counter-protesting because, he won the election legitimately.
The Sacramento Police Department said some 200 officers worked to keep the groups apart. 11 people were arrested for illegal pepper spray. Sacramento's Vice Mayor Angelique Ashby.
In Sacramento, we will continue to keep people safe. The police department will continue to show up.
Officials with CHP say they made no arrests and no one spilled onto the Capitol grounds, which has been limited to visitors and blocked by a barrier since the summer. Local law enforcement agencies say they're prepared for whatever may happen in coming days.
In comparison to what happened in other cities, Sacramento fared well. We anticipate that to continue through the next few days.